every so often, somebody asks me, most recently it was a TEDx guy who was asking me to come over here, and he said, why is it that somebody who used to be in molecular biology and biotechnology, why do you end up in something as far away from it as possible as advertising? Well, it starts out very simply, and there's a very obvious reason. One of it is that, as you can see, I'm Asian. And in the great Asian tradition, as most of us know, our parents said, well, of course you have to be a doctor slash philosopher slash professor slash nuclear scientist slash CPA slash lawyer slash somebody who'll create robots that will save the earth in the event of a cataclysm. Now, so what I said was, and being a person who still lived off their parents, I was kind of thinking, okay, sure. And it was really very interesting what we were doing in the lab. We were doing genetic engineering every day on a daily basis. We were manipulating DNA and fiddling around with the internal plumbing of cells so that they would do things that they had never done before. So he said, dance for me! And given the right conditions, they did. So one of our professors said that, science is very beautiful, and you have to look at the pictures first when you're studying some new thing, some new scientific paper. Because, as you can see, something that is as scary as anthrax can be very beautiful in certain kind of light. And so this is because we are very visual creatures. A large part of your brain, definitely more than 10%, is actually at the same, continuously processing information that it gets from the sense of vision. For instance, I'm doing this, and you can see, well, that's one hand up in the air, and it's small, kind of red, splotchy, and so why is that person waving frantically at me? It's really, really weird. And that's because our sense of vision actually has, at the same time, been able to do stuff like object recognition, size, shape, color. It can detect motion and speed of things. It's distance, it's a location, spatial frequency. The intent of that gesture, what I was just doing, it can be anything from saying help or hi, but it also talks about your reaction, how it made you feel. So, hang on. It was, so for that graduate class where my teacher was saying, it was where I was researching some stuff on the prion protein, which causes bovine spongiform encephalopathy or mad cow disease. Now, normally, proteins don't have mechanisms by which to self-replicate. That's the job of DNA, getting RNA to do stuff, and then RNA creates proteins. Now, this is very strange because if a prion protein somehow gets into a cow's brain, what it does is that it changes the shape of a normal prion protein, which normally lives in your brain. So every single one of us, cows, sheep, too, and deer, we have this normal prion protein. But somehow, when the infectious kind moves in, it changes the shape, and then that's it. It makes a complete mess of your brain, and then it just clumps together, killing all the neurons. And it would be like if I were to say, you guys, all of you are sitting down, you're normal, you're fine. You're not bothering anybody. But me, because I'm standing up, I'm actually very evil because I could be running around and breaking things. So if I were normal me, were to walk up to, sir, could you please stand up? Yeah, stand up, I'm running out of time, stand up. Okay, so now you, him and me, we're evil. And now we're gonna walk over to each of you and we're gonna change you all. And so now, pretty soon we'd have all these people standing up, breaking things, running around, and then we'd be going out the world in search for more brains. Okay, so thanks. Oh, there we go. Obviously, I didn't, my slides. So it was a really cool thing, I thought, that prion, because it had the power to literally change your mind. And quite coincidentally, it was at that semester where I decided to move to art school. So, of course, my parents said, well, honey, that's such a waste of your brain. And I thought, that is kind of true. There is a question of brain wastage. Because I was thinking, since the government had, because I had studied in UP, my government had paid for my brain. So they owned it. So I have to do something noble. I had to be really good about what I did. So I decided I would have a single-minded mission in life. And like the prion protein I so admired, it would be mind control. So I decided to be in advertising. Pretty much, you don't realize it that I've already told you to buy more soft drinks or drink more milk or have another slice of pizza and have some fruit. And I've already told you you need another phone, sign up for a phone plan, and I've already told you that dress would look great on you, and you bought it in a mall that I told you to go to, where a logo I designed is on the wall, and my handwriting is there saying, this place is so cool. And so, dance for me, I told you, and given the right conditions, you did. So, as you can see, what I do before and what I did before and what I do now, there's not a lot of difference. There's not a lot of jobs in the world where you're paid to sit down and just use your brain creatively. And I've been lucky enough that I've had 2 of those. So for instance, it's not a matter of right brain, left brain for me, because you have to use them together. Like the way I talk, the vocabulary and the grammar, that's dictated by the left hemisphere. And the way I speak and the intonation and where I put the stress, that's the right. And both of them have to work together in synchrony so that somehow I'm understandable to all of you. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Science also requires creativity. Given all of the information that we had before, all the little myriad pieces of data, a scientist will have to discover a novel way to relate one piece of data to another, so that he'd have this new discovery that's something we never knew before. And more than that, I believe advertising is actually a practitioner of the scientific method. First, we define the problem. Sell more brand X. And then we go into research and observation. So who do we talk to? Who are these people? You've heard of all the demographics and their target markets, and why do we talk to them? Where do we talk to them? How often, and what worked before and what didn't. And then we form the hypothesis. Sell brand X by telling people there's nothing quite like it. And then we create our ad campaign. So this has to be using variables that nobody had ever thought before. So for instance, we could create some brilliant TV ad that makes you listen to the radio, that tells you to go look at some print material, and then it tells you to go online and check out this website, where you could download something to your phone that's now your ticket to an event. And then we perform the experiments and collect data. So this is pretty much just, creating the ad themselves. They have to be gorgeous. And so this one is then we send it to client, and of course they're going to say, oh, that's good. Sometimes we also have what is called focus group discussions. So, you who might check out the ad beforehand is going to say, oh, that's good, that's not so good. And also for websites and mobile, we have usability and beta testing so that we're sure everything works perfectly. And then finally, like all good scientists, we publish our work. So we launch our campaign. And scientists also must have a peer review. Now before, this was, you just check out how many products you sold and how many awards you won. But increasingly, social media has become very important because so many people now are online and they could instantaneously tell you whether they liked your product or not. And all of these multiplied voices are contributing to the opinion of everybody. The good thing, though, is that you could now talk to them and have a decent conversation. And if we're worthy and lucky, you win an award somewhere in Europe. Now, I'm serious that the Cannes Advertising Awards is like the Nobel Prize. It's this really big deal every year. So it's really not different at all for me. And it somehow actually seems to follow a formula that advertising is a science. And for instance, I've always wondered, how come in ads there's always, there's some guy driving a car and it's always like zooming down the road, or if it's a food ad, you always see some guy eating, like let's say chicken. He's eating chicken and it looks so good and he's enjoying it. He's in ecstasies with every bite. Now, as it turns out, there's a thing in your brain called a mirror neuron, which gets stimulated when you do an action. And then it also gets stimulated when you see someone doing an action. So in your head, if you see someone doing something, it feels like you did it already. So for instance, you see a boxing match and you could see someone get hit in the, in the gut, and it's really strong, and you feel so pain because it feels like you're the one who got hit. Or if you watch action movies and you see the hero doing his last stand and he's just shooting everybody, you feel the adrenaline rush because in your head, you're doing it too. So when you see an ad and there's somebody who's drinking some soft drinks and it looks really good and he looks like he's enjoying it so much and it's so good he finishes it. In your head, you went, wow, that felt really great. I should go out and get some more. So, there. Somebody once said, John Ward, one of the great advertising people, said, advertising is a craft executed by people who aspire to be artists, but is assessed by those who aspire to be scientists. And that's sort of true, because you have all of these writers and art directors who are trying to make these little masterpieces in a print ad, or you have them making a 30-second cinematic tour de force, or you have these nice little pieces of interactive theater. And it's really nice, but a lot of times, at the end of the day, people just say, well, how much did we sell? And I think that it has to be that you do your job so well, as scientifically and as artfully as possible, so that together you have this really brilliant piece of work. So in terms of numbers, you could think of it as the number of people, the millions of people who look at your ad every day, or hear it on the radio, or see it in the newspapers, or it could be the number of people who look out from the street at your billboard, or the number of people who click on your website, interact with it for the past 24 hours, or it could be how artfully, how beautifully you crafted that piece. So for me, there is no dichotomy in art and science. For me, it's just an expression of man seeking to better humanity. It's just something, both of them are just inspired by nature, both of them try to understand nature. And in that process of doing science or art, man learns something about himself. And so a question then, we go back to the very beginning, is that how come you're in advertising and not in a laboratory? For me, actually, for all the logic I hope I tried to show you, it's really illogical, because it's like asking me, what's better, vanilla or chocolate? For me, it's just the same. It's really just a matter of preference. And it just so happened that advertising is the one that makes me happier. And what I learned about myself is that what I really liked about advertising is that I have an audience. And it's to that audience that I could say things that I really want to say. It's, it's a bit cheesy, but it's allowed me to say, even in the name of a big brand, it's told me to save the earth, or share, get your kids into sports, love someone no matter how far away, be the instrument for making other people happy. Love your country, love your family, love yourself. Push yourself beyond whatever limits you thought you had. And together we could do something that could change the world, and nothing could ever be impossible. So even though I know the science behind what I do, it's really still some sort of magical art how an electrical impulse between neurons becomes a thought, an idea, and then a word, a picture, a landscape. It becomes a universe, and in this universe, somehow, without you and me knowing it, I'm talking to you. You're hearing what I say, and you're listening. Thank you. Thank you.